Shiva for Marty Lipsky will be observed tonight from 7 to 9, tomorrow Tuesday from 2 to 4, 7 to 9, Wednesday 2 to 4, 7 to 9, as well as Thursday from 2 to 4 to 7 to 9, and Friday from 2 to 4 at 428 Hillside Avenue. If you further wish to honor the memory of Marty Lipsky, you may do so by making contributions to the Weintraub Memorial Fund of Temple Bethel, a Jewish Senior Life Foundation of the charity of your choice. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, b'nodeh sheyarbitzeini, al mei menuchot yirnahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech begei tzal mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neget tzorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya, achtov vachesed irdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti bebeit Adonai leorech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on path of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. It is now my honor to call upon Barbara Lipsky to speak in the funeral of her husband, Marty Lipsky.
Those of you who know us know that Martin and I met right back there on a Friday night in October of 1964. 4 years later, we were married, and after all our life events, here we have brought him back to the place he loved, to say goodbye to the man we cherished. I said after the third time I did this, for someone I loved, I was never going to do it again. But during the night, I needed to put my thoughts on paper to try and process my memories, and we have many. We welcomed our children into our lives. First, Stephanie arrived a few weeks before our first anniversary. The baby I had always wanted made us very happy to be a family. Even though she did not come with instructions, we always felt we did a pretty good job. Then we had to wait for our baby boy 5.5 years later. Richard had a tough start, but he also made us proud. We had a good life together. The kids grew up, had their bar and bat mitzvahs here at Bethel, went off to college, came home, found jobs, and stayed in Rochester, which made us very happy, as so many of our friends found their children moving away. Martin enjoyed life. We had good friends, a few from his single days before I moved here, but we made new friends, most of them coming to us with each new life experience. We traveled with friends, we played cards, we went to the movies. There always seemed that there was something to do on a Saturday night. After Stephanie and Ira got married and gave us 2 wonderful grandchildren, our lives seemed to take a different turn. Now we were busy with babysitting, making new memories, going to school plays, dance recitals, and band concerts. Hopefully, everybody remembers Martin with a quirky sense of humor and the loyalty he had for friends and family. He didn't like a whole lot of change. He started building a sukkah when Stephanie was about 3. Every year, it seemed to get a little bigger. First, it was only big enough for her, but then with the help of friends, it grew, and it was our yearly cookie and the sukkah that we and all our friends looked forward to. First night of Rosh Hashanah, the Gorels that started with 9 people, all of us together, and at last count has grown to over 16 as our families expanded. Then there was the coveted fricassee night, usually on the Sunday of Passover, that also started out with 9 of us, the Grells and us, but oh, how it grew. Sometimes it got to be 20 people or more, with 2 tables and lots of good times. But I think our longest tradition became Thanksgiving, when the Brauns, who lived across the street, had a Lisa, and they came for the first Thanksgiving with us with that brand new baby. The Wadowski 5 made it for another tradition that has lasted for over 45 years. That group has expanded and dwindled over the years, but still something we all look forward to. But now our golden years have taken on a new look. Martin's hearing started to go, along with his memory. Sometimes just would not come to him, some things, but some things he never forgot. His family, Temple Bethel, and how to play cards. After Martin lost his eye 6 years ago, it was kind of his last safety net, and he started falling, which led to some nasty outcomes. In November of 2019, upon falling and injuring himself, he landed in the Jewish home for rehab. I will never forget the day they told me and Jackie, who had become my second pair of ears, I could not take him home safely, and he became a permanent resident of the Jewish home. So now our lives took on a new traditions and daily visits, and we strived to keep him connected. The kids visited, our friends visited. We moved him to the cottage in January of 2020, and that was working so well until March and the dreaded virus. Communication was cut off. I could not visit every day. Once a week, they gave me 15 minutes through a window, wearing a mask, talking on the telephone, which we knew he was not hearing more than a few words of. Trying to have new things to tell him when there was nothing new, as I went nowhere and saw no one for over a year. Our lives seemed to be shattered. He couldn't understand why he wasn't coming inside, or why he couldn't at least see my whole face to give him clues as to what I was saying. It got to a point where he just fell asleep, and I sat outside in the cold crying for 15 minutes. Finally, April of this year, they started making moves to let me inside his cottage to visit in person. I couldn't wait to hug and kiss this man who had been my whole life for over 50 years. So of course, that too had its bumps. Some would test positive, and the whole facility was shut down for 2 more weeks. Open back up and do it again. The rules kept changing, but finally I got to visit in his room, only for an hour, with a mask and a shield. Then, without the shield, but still the mask. Only could be in his room, and never more than 2 people, and only family Father's Day was the first time he saw our grandchildren in 15 months. Allison had graduated high school, gone to college, first semester in their basement, second semester in Ithaca. Ryan had grown over 6 inches. His voice had changed, and we watched his bar mitzvah on Zoom, together in his room. Our lives had changed. Our traditions shattered. And now it has changed again. No more falling. No more kisses and hugs. No more gin rummy and word search. No more sucking candy always in his mouth. No more smiles or cockeyed looks. But as Golda said, he is with all his family and friends that we have missed so dearly, and he can hear everything they say. We love you, Martin. We miss you always, and we'll talk of you fondly forever. You will always be our Mr. Fantastic. Till we meet again, no one will need to shout to be heard.
Dear Barbara, thank you for such a heartfelt words. Spouses must always have that precious, caring information that speaks so highly of the love, the relationship, and how much you care for one another. Your words touched the core of our feelings for Marty. We recognize the depth of the love that you had for each other. And we also recognize 53 years of marriage, 57 almost 8 since you met him. Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam. The human soul is like a candle, the candle of the Lord. The burning candle, the candle that dissolves the shadow that sheds light, is the symbol of human life. And indeed, one of those caring candles has been extinguished. A loving spirit has entered the Olam Haba, the well of truth, and we all feel dazed for the lack of light. Marty was Jerry's baby brother, one to watch over. But 6 years of difference between the two of them didn't put them together. Jerry was out of the house. He went to college. Well, Marty was becoming to be a teenager. But they kept in touch with some frequency throughout the years. For his older brother, Marty was a dedicated family man, a shul goer, someone for whom religion was very important. And Temple Bethel has been part of this wonderful family of Barbara and Marty since the early 60s. As we heard Barbara say, they met right here, over here, later to migrate over there. Barbara, a true Michiganian from Muskota. I'm sure she came down to Tawa City for ice cream. But parents had it too that she should have a Jewish life in a Jewish community. And that meant, because of family relations, that she will come and visit the wonderful Jewish community of Rochester. And she entered shul, and she saw the beauty of the sanctuary. She was 18 years old, barely legal, And Marty was 29. He pursued, I've been told. And 40 years later, you said yes. Then we have heard from Barbara, the birth of Stephanie, and then later Richard, the golden child. Married at Beth Shalom with Rabbi Oshander. As a father, Marty worked hard, but came home every night for dinner. Children were busy with their television shows or homework. But Marty was there for them. He said hello to them, but they were busy. From time to time, he will say, Richard, don't eat too fast. Or he will give some instructions to Stephanie, I'm sure. But it was most of the time quiet. He would ask about homework. He would ask perhaps not to get the hair too long, cut it with some frequency. But he was here every Shabbos. And I can attest that Richard brought him here very often. When his parents passed away, Marty was here every minyan. In fact, he left early from home to say that he was coming here. Shul was the place to be for him. The family had originally belonged to the St. Regis Shul growing up, but they migrated to Temple Bethel. To me, as a rabbi, Marty was the person to go for an aliyah. Chazan Lubitz, who apologizes for not being here, coincidentally, he has lost his brother-in-law, and he's now in Ohio for a funeral. Chazan Lubitz will say to me, there's an opening? Okay, Marty Lipsky, would you like to take that aliyah? So he took aliyahs for yortzais, for birthday, for relatives, for any one of you who was not in shul. Marty will take the aliyah for you. He enjoyed Kiddush every Shabbat. He had helped in prior years Chazan Rosenbaum, a legend of Temple Bethel, as he was teaching students, and Marty will assist him by getting the kids to the bus and to the cars for them to go home. He did things for the Chazan. When the shul was in Park Avenue, it was told to me yesterday that Marty was going to shul a Shabbat morning, as he did. He lived in the neighborhood this when he was single. And people would say to him, Marty, the shul went in flames. It burned down. Marty will say to him, don't say that. He could not believe, and he got there, and unfortunately that shul had burned down. He worked for the Board of Elections, and then he moved to work for the family court all the way to his retirement. Many years. He didn't like retirement. He therefore volunteered his time to the Jewish Home, to the JCC, and here and there he went to the MIT program, though his hearing made that very difficult for him. Marty would like to be remembered as what he was, a kind neshama, a good person, someone who genuinely cared about people, a friendly face when you came to shul, someone who was known for many because the time he spent meeting people. If he went downtown to the parade, people would say hi to him and not to others. He became almost like a star. He knew everyone because he had walked those streets when he went to his father's office for lunch and back and forth to his job. As we heard, he enjoyed playing cards, gin rummy and canasta, pinochle, and bridge. And as we heard from Barbara, when she went to visit him under all the difficulties that we had through the pandemic, They were able at sometimes play between them. Marty even taught people at the Jewish home how to play, so he could play with them. He loved Jeopardy, and he loved the Wheel of Fortune. He loved word puzzle books. He loved those kind of games. He enjoyed the company of the cousins. He was cordial to people here at Bethel, people of the Minyan and people that work in the office. A kind soul. Someone say hi to us every morning when he was here. Marty he loved walking. He enjoyed the company of family. But perhaps the detail you didn't know is that he had size 14 for his shoes. Quite unusual for the time. So some of, I think, the younger members of the family called him Bigfoot. Certainly by now he will be among basketball players because of that. On Thursday, I went to see Mr. Fantastic at the Jewish home. It was a short visit. I was able to do it through my wife, Silvana, who works there, and quickly got me to the cottage. But prior, we had the opportunity to make a little short video of Marty as the residents were saying hi to us, being outside, and we were parading around everything to mind the difficulties of the pandemic. Mr. Fantastic was in reality a fantastic person, a great human being, a wonderful congregant. I know the family wishes to thank the staff at the Jewish home, Cottage 3, 3rd floor, for the care they gave Marty. I believe that what makes a congregation, a community, are not the wonderful chazanim or rabbis, but people like Marty, because they create the right atmosphere at every service. They create the right connections between people who say Bethel is a great place. They are the ambassadors and the spokespeople that tell others that being Jewish is a wonderful thing. The world is and was a better place for having Marty with us. His memory will endure in our hearts as a blessing. I know we will remember him when we come together for Tisha B'Av, when we come together for the high holidays, for Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur. We will be looking to that back corner to see if Marty is there, and he will be in spirit. There is no more to say, but the wisest words of our scripture. In God's infinite goodness, God is giving us this wonderful human being. In God's noble judgment, God is taking it unto God's self. Despite our loss, despite our pain, despite our sorrow, we shall praise the gift of life and the name of God, now and forever. Yehi nishmato tzrura b'tzror ha'chaim. May the soul of Mordechai Avram ben Lazer be bound up in the bonds of life eternal, and let his name be a blessing always. Please kindly rise for the memorial prayer. El maleh rachamim shochen bamromim aמצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר רקיע מזהירים את נשמת מרדכי אברהם בן לייזר שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו ענה בעל הרחמים אז תראהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר